Welcome back to some new malicious compliance stories, where people complied to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called If You Say So. Back in the olden days, I had a supervisor who spent the time trying to get me in trouble. For some reason, she got in her head that I was after her job. I come in one day and am told that from now on I am to do only the tasks she tells me to do. Then she has me sign a form stating that I understand that I am not to do a specific daily task until she tells me otherwise. I know she did it only to see how I would react. Up until then, there were absolutely no issues with the way and when tasks were being completed. But okay, no problem. While this work could be skipped for a day or two, if it wasn't done by day 3, it would start to affect everything else. At the end of the day, she leaves for a 2-week vacation without telling me to complete the work. So that daily task sat and sat and sat. Because I was the only one trained on how to do it and it wasn't being done, many other tasks couldn't be completed either, and we fell further and further behind. This was way before cell phones, so no one could reach her while she was gone. When she finally came back, the poop hit the fan. She tried to go to the higher ups to get me fired, so I pulled out my copy of the form I signed. Guess who got in trouble? Not me. In fact, that form got torn up and removed from my file. After that, I went back to doing things the way they had been done before. The rest of the time I worked there, she would spend her days watching me through the crack in the door and trying to catch me doing something wrong. As far as I know, she's probably still on the hunt 30 years later. The next story is called Cold Transfers. I was a technician working in a lab. My job was to repair car parts for this third-party repair company. The company made such monumental stupid decisions in a very short span that over 50% of the call center all quit within 3 days of each other. So the company started dragging employees from other departments into the call center. Every day I'd walk in and ask the building manager, "What's up today? Am I doing my job or am I answering phones?" And he'd sigh and say, "Answering phones." Well, I quickly learned what made a lot of the call centers quit. You see, at this company we had a really good warranty policy. Lifetime warranty on the part, regardless of who owns it at any given time. If it has our sticker on it and the sticker hasn't been defaced, we will service it for free. If you aren't happy with the quality, you can ask for a refund if you were the original person who sent it in for work in the first place. Well, it turned out we were losing money. When stuff would come in for warranty repair, some of the salespeople would grab it, rip our sticker off, throw it in the junk pile and call the customer. They were saying we couldn't fix it, but we have a perfectly good one here that they can sell at a discount. They did this so much that customers started just asking for refunds instead. We got so many refund requests that the building manager told the call center that we would not be honoring the warranty anymore, but not to tell that to the customers. Lead them on. When they ask for a refund, tell them it's being processed and will take up to 6 weeks. 6 weeks from now, when they call asking where their refund was, tell them it was in the wrong stack of paperwork or there was an error at the bank. Whatever excuse you can think of. Then tell them it will be another 6 weeks. Keep doing this until they stop calling. Well, the call center revolted. More than half quit. When I found out this is what happened, I told them they don't want me on the phones because I will not lie to customers. The building manager said, "Tough luck. Till they can hire more people for phones, I am stuck there." So when someone called, meant that they haven't received their refund, I profusely apologized. I told them, "I'm sure there's a good explanation. Let me get you a manager." And I cold transferred them to the building manager. He'd come back to his desk and find like 30 people on hold in his queue. He got mad and told me to stop cold transferring people. So I stopped cold transferring people. Every 3 or 4 minutes I let a new customer know I can get them the manager. I transfer them, get up, walk over to the manager's office and tell the manager, "Hey, so and so from X company is on your line, angry that you're refusing to give them a refund. Have fun." Eventually I got pulled into a meeting with him and the CFO and was told in no uncertain terms that if I continued to do so, I would be fired. I reminded them that the only reason this is happening in the first place is because A, they came up with this plan in the first place. B, they are making me answer phones instead of doing my job. And C, they can't keep anyone, because whenever they hired someone new, the rest of us would fill them in on what's happening, and they would quit after their first day. In the end, I found a better job and quit that hellhole. On my last day, I filed a complaint with OSHA, filling them in on all the illegal stuff they'd make us do in the lab. The third story is called New Finance Manager. This story goes back a few years now. I worked in graphics design. I was salaried, but was paid to be on call 1 week every month. The company had a long-standing structure of on-call payments, where we get paid $200 a month to be on the on-call rota. And if and when we get called out, it's paid at around 130% of our calculated hourly salary rate for the time we clock in and clock out of work on a call out. This worked fine for us. One day we had a new finance manager introduce himself. He was in his early 20s and had been hired as part of our graduate leadership program. We knew instantly he was going to be a pain, because within the first 3 minutes of his half-hour-long speech, he talked about cost, value of money, and expenditure multiple times. He didn't even mention graphic design at all, which is what we all did. To begin with, we gave him the benefit of the doubt. New guy, new company, maybe he was just sticking to his comfort zone. Within 2 weeks, he'd mandated that all expenses had to be sent to him for approval. Cue queries like, "You are driving a transit. Why did it cost you $60 to go 100 miles? And why did you fill up at Shell? Morrison's is cheaper." This eventually led to, "I don't want the trucks going home with you. Please leave them at work and pick them up." Well, the reason it cost us $60 that one time was that we had 1.2 tons of product in the back, and we needed to run the engine whilst the pallets were being loaded and unloaded. But he didn't understand. In his finance textbook there was no mention of logistics. The vans were going home with us because it would save 30 to 60 minutes of a commute either way to get a van when we were moving products from customers and suppliers. This was confusing to him, because his textbook didn't say that everybody didn't actually live at the company and had that odd requirement to go to some weird place called home at 5 PM. Naturally, none of the employees were happy about this arrangement, but it all fell away because of his second brilliant idea. He also decided that we would get our on-call payments stocked, a system that had worked since 1988. Over 30 years of a perfectly working system. But of course, some idiot had to come along and try to change it. His big idea was to lose 1 hour of on-call. It was an easy saving on paper, since we all claimed 1 single extra hour on-call every week. The way it worked was that whoever was sending over the on-call duty would claim half an hour to get the van fueled and valeted. And whoever was about to go on-call would also claim half an hour to take a stock check of what was in the vans and reload as necessary. Every week a different van would go out, and as we had 4 vans, this meant they also got their monthly clean as mandated by the company. We'd worked this for years, and it was actually the idea of a retired director, who had previously worked as a paramedic. Our weekly van refresh was worth the nominal amount that was paid out to 1 employee per week, and was also an incentive for being on call. Even if nothing happened, the on-call employee would get the equivalent of a free meal, and the vans would be stocked every Thursday, our on-call handover day, and good to go. During quiet periods, the vans all got a run at least once a month, so they didn't get flat batteries. And as whoever was on call got that van washed, cleaned and fueled, we always had 1 presentable van 24/7. Anyway, back to the new manager. When everybody heard they were losing an hour of on-call pay, because it's our job to make sure we are ready no matter what, there were a lot of questions asked. Our senior finance manager doubled down. Having been the new manager's referral into the company, he agreed. "You all drive. Pick the van up from work. You can load it on company time whilst you are here. You have gate codes, so if you're on call, you will need to take a van from your place of work. Time for some malicious compliance." Coincidentally, the next 6 weeks were very busy on call. As mentioned, the textbook didn't cover how people don't live at the office. So instead of taking a van home and being ready to go at 3 AM, we were spending anywhere between 30 to 90 minutes commuting to the office to pick up a van, driving to where the issue was. This happened when the overnight press has our samples ready, or when our client has just published the final design markup that they want to be reviewed and on the machines for 6 AM. Or, most commonly, having to drive to an event with some extra materials because the client was overbooked, and then the same time back. Whilst we weren't paid fuel mileage for driving to work for our normal hours, we were given the standard 40 cents a mile when we had to drive our own cars outside of working hours. And if we couldn't or didn't want to drive, the company would pay for a taxi. If we were driving one of the vans, we weren't paid mileage, just our standard on-call payment. So the new manager very quickly went from our enemy to our best friend, when we realized we'd be getting paid significantly more. One of my colleagues lived about 60 miles away from the office. On one occasion, where he had 9 call-outs in 1 week, each time having to drive to the office and back, he'd effectively doubled what he would have been paid weekly. We realized that this was costing the company money, but hey, that's the rules, so we happily kept up with this new routine. The extra driving was a bit of a pain, but the knowledge that we were getting paid extra for it made it a very easy rule to follow. The manager probably realized that as we weren't complaining, something must be wrong. He checked and was shocked to find out that his massive saving of about $250 per month was instead leading to about $500 of extra monthly mileage payments and an extra $1,000 in monthly on-call payments. Not to mention that customers were complaining that what was a 20 minutes response time was now about an hour. And one customer had noticed that one of the on-call employees would drive past their facility in his car, only to come back 40 minutes later with a van. Then, 40 minutes after he'd left, they saw him driving back the way he came in his car. We'd initially complained about this for a while, but it fell on deaf ears. As soon as our company director heard complaints from the customers though, time for action. Suddenly, we were allowed to take the vans home again. Our on-call handover was reinstated, and the new manager was moved out of our team. I was naive, so I thought this was fine. However, a lot of other people I worked with said no, we have our new way of working. That's how it's meant to be. Some people said that they'd bought another car or a bigger car, now that they didn't need to park a van at home anymore, so they were unable to take a van home again. I worked there for another year and left to pursue my career, but until I left, the policy remained. Everybody who worked on call continued to leave the vans at the office, drive there to pick them up, do a job, drop them off at the office, and drive home again. The new manager disappeared for a while, and we never heard about him again. I checked the corporate directory and saw he was missing, so I assume he was shown the door. The senior finance guy was still in the company, but had absolutely no say in what we did. He was moved down from client manager to supplier coordinator, which I assume means he's now living his life checking contracts and financial statements. The last story is called If You Insist. This was over a decade ago. At the time, I was working in a very large brick-and-mortar electronics store. I worked in the warehouse, putting away inventory and bringing out large items for customers. Our story takes place as the holidays are approaching, so there was going to be a massive increase in the inventory we received and huge sales. It was our busiest time of the year. As such, we had a big all-hands meeting one morning to go over everything and prepare our store for the holidays. For some reason, our store manager invited reps from a large corporate bank. They like stagecoaches, to tell us all about the accounts they offer. They were given 20 minutes at the end of our meeting to talk about their bank, why we should bank there, and to answer any questions. During their question phase, one of my warehouse co-workers showed up to the store, having missed most of the meetings. I waved at him as he approached the group and the rest ensued. Our bad manager saw me wave at my co-worker. Do you have a question for the bank lady? What? No, I definitely don't. Sure you do. Go ahead, ask something. Now, my girlfriend at the time had been a bank teller for a different large corporate bank. She would tell me how these banks hate credit unions. Sure. So why should I bank with you instead of my credit union? Bank lady proceeds to go on a rant about how credit unions are terrible or something. It was rough. Spent 5 minutes incorrectly explaining how credit unions work and why everyone should avoid them and bank with Stagecoach Bank instead. So, what rates does your credit union give you? I don't know. I bank at Bank of the Nation. So I managed to waste 5 minutes of everyone's time because my boss insisted I ask a question. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.